Hey everyone, welcome to Papa's Workshop. One of the things that I really like to be able to do in the shop is make things that I need without having to go out and buy them. And today I've made a little foot that will go on to my X-Tool D1 Pro laser. Now what I plan on doing is making a template for that, and I need to be able to have that footprint where it will not move. And the easiest way to do that is to make this little foot right here, where the base of the laser will just sit right inside of it. Now, of course, I need 4 of them. This was a test, and I want to show you exactly how I made it today so that you could duplicate this and do the same exact thing in your shop. I'm using the Tinkercad software to be able to design the projects that I'm going to take over to the 3D printer. Now, the nice thing about this software is 100% completely free, and is designed and built by the Autodesk people, which is the group that did AutoCAD, which they build skyscrapers, bridges, and more. But this is a free software, and this is the little guy right here that I took just a few minutes to design, and it is absolutely perfect. This round area is where the foot of the X-Tool D1 laser drops in. I have the 2 holes there for the screws that will screw to the plywood, and that will be perfect to be able to hold this in place. And then to look at the part, this is the actual part that I printed out. And it's amazing. I absolutely love this. This is so simple to be able to take the project from Tinkercad into printing. Now this program is actually designed for the absolute beginner. If you have no experience whatsoever with the CAD design, you can actually design your project very, very easily. When you open up Tinkercad, you're going to find that the blue area is the work plane, and that's where you build everything. And you can use the scroll wheel on your mouse and the right button and be able to move this around to be able to see it. I started with these images, and it was just a square. I'm going to put it right over here so that we can see it, and then I'm going to change the size of it. Now this object started out just as a little box like this, and you can change the shapes of it. You can use the right mouse, hold it down, and you can look at this from all different angles and see exactly what's happening with your object. And you can see the exact dimensions of this item. You can see that this is the 50 millimeters long. You can also see that it's the 30 millimeters wide at this point. And I can actually recreate this completely. We'll make this 50 millimeters. And we'll make the length of it 30. And we'll make this, as far as the height, we'll drop this down. We can also use the little arrows to be able to maneuver this and do all kinds of different things with it. Okay, I have my 50 millimeters on the x-axis, and I have the 30 millimeters on the y-axis. Perfect. And I know that this is 2 millimeters high. So that is exactly what I want to be able to have happen. Now the next thing I can do is just take this and duplicate it. And I have these little areas up here that I can duplicate. You can see right here, I can hit Control D and I can make a separate one. And I can also rotate this 90 degrees. So if I take this one, slide it right here, and I can take this one and I can rotate it around, and just like that I've got it rotated, and I can bring that up right to where I want it, and we can check and see if that's exactly where we want this to be. And you can see how that snaps right into place just like that. And that gives me the same look as I have here. And then I need to have a circle. So I come over here and grab a circle and bring that into the workplace. I'm going to change this around. Now the first thing you can notice, it looks like it's a little bit jagged. And if I zoom in, you can see that. Well, I can change the sides. I can bring that up to 64. And that has 64 sides, but it also makes it look very, very smooth, and that's what I want. So that works out real well. Now, as far as the size of this is 20 millimeters right now. I want to be able to have this set for 26.6. I found that that has worked real well. And I want to change this one, also 26.6. Now I have a round sphere, and that's perfect. So let's just look at this right here. You see that's 10 millimeters high. So I can take this one and just scroll right down to the 10 millimeters and have the exact same thing. So that's going to be the inside. So let's bring out another sphere. We'll bring out another one right here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring this up to 64. And we're going to bring this down to 12. Right like that. And I want this size to be different. I want to be able to have the sides 2 millimeters thick. I need to have this not 28. I need to have this 30 millimeters and 30 millimeters. There we go. Now let's take this object and put it right over on top, and we'll center it into its new home. Now I'm going to take these two objects and align them. And I can hit right here and right there, and that perfectly centers it. And so that takes care of the centering of this item. Then I can group this together, group it right here, and now you can see that that is perfect. That's the image that I want. And then I can take it and slide it right over here onto this object. One of the things that I can also do, instead of seeing both objects, I can just hit F and we can focus just on this one. And I want to look and see if this is where I want it to sit all the way around. Now I have this slid in exactly where it needs to be. And you can see how that looks all the way around. And that is just perfect. So next thing, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight everything and group it together. Now this is all one object. Now to make these holes, you notice that these are tapered. That way I can put in a screw and it's going to be tapered. Easiest way to do that is just take a cone and we'll bring that over. Now with this cone, we're going to hit F again and bring that over. Let's look at the different things that I can do. The top radius, you can see how that can be from 0 to any dimension that you want. And I need this to be at about 3 millimeters. So I'm going to put in 3 millimeters right there. And that gives me the cap. Now the base radius, you can see this is 10 right now, but you can see how that changes. And I need that to be about 5 millimeters. And the height, don't need it 20 millimeters. I need that height to be about 2 millimeters, the thickness of this material right there. So I'll put in the 2 millimeters. And that gives me exactly what I need. I'm also going to change this again, and we're going to make that 64. And I need that to be a hole. Now, only thing I have to do is place this object over into my place, and I'll need to duplicate it also. So we'll rotate this around. You can see how I can rotate it just like that. And let me zoom out. I'm going to hit home. That way it'll bring me back to the main board. And I can take, and first let's duplicate this. I'll hit Control D. There we go. There, we'll separate it. And let's bring it over to where I need. We'll hit home. We'll slide it over right into there. We'll take this one and we'll slide right over where it needs to be. That's 10 millimeters. I wanted that 5 millimeters. Okay, made a mistake. It says base radius. I actually put the diameter in, so I need to change that. And this one will be the same thing, because I know I duplicate it. 5 millimeters, 5 millimeters. There we go. That's what I want. And then looking straight down on this, I'm going to zoom in, and I know that I need to move this over right about there. Same thing on this one. Yes, I could have used the align tool and did it exact, but this is more of a demonstration. It's not really a complete tutorial on exactly how to do this. But this gives you the idea of just how simple it is to be able to make these projects. And put this right where I want it, which will be right there. Now that I have everything where I want it, I can highlight everything, group it together, and you can see there's the model. That is perfect, exactly what I want. And that's going to be the same thing as what we had here. So this is very, very easy to be able to design. You can make anything you want in literally just a few minutes. So at this point, I don't really need this one. I'm just going to cut it, and we're going to use this one right here as my example. And I've renamed it. This is for my X tool leg mount. And this now will be saved, and I'm going to bring it up into the 3D printer, and we'll be able to print this. I opened the file that I had created, and you can see the object right there. And what I did, when you open this up, the first thing it will ask you down here is to go through the slicing operation. Now, because I've already printed this once, it's already been sliced, so it is ready to be able to print. Now, this is the Cura software. This is the slicer that I'm using, and Elegoo software actually has adapted this program to be able to work very nicely with their machines. So at this point, all I really need to do is select print via of the USB, and it is going to go through the steps now. And the first thing you notice over here is that it needs to heat up again. It's at 155, it needs to go to 200, and the same thing with the bed. It's already at the 60 degrees Celsius, so the bed itself is ready. So when this reaches the temperature, then it will immediately start printing. Temperature has been reached, and now it's going through the cycle again. Now it will go through and actually Z itself automatically. I don't have to do anything at all, because when I click print to the USB, from that point on, it's all automatic. It knows exactly what it needs to do. It Z's itself, and it comes right over and begins printing. Now the first thing that it does, it prints out the brim layer. That way, if you have brand new filament in there, or you've changed colors or anything like that, this sets up the base for it, and it makes sure that the filament is flowing. It makes sure that you're going to have good adhesion to the work plate. All of that's very, very important. And then it will just continue on and print out this part. Now this part takes a total of about 29 minutes to be able to print. Not really that long. And I'm amazed at how quiet this is. This is extremely, extremely quiet. Now it's continuing to print the base right now, and it's looking absolutely amazing. Now this is the first one, and there was a little flaw in this one that was my own doing, because it was my fault. So I literally have some little strings right there in the center, and that was because I literally changed the filament in the middle of this printing. Not a good idea, but I was able to do it without it stop printing, and that was the result. So there was a slight flaw. It's all finished printing now, and I just used the little spatula and lift it off and clean it up, and it's ready to go. Now because this is a test, I'm going to discard this one. One thing I want to point out is when you first turn the machine on, you do go through the leveling process. Now this is an auto level, so it just steps you through the process. You only have to do this once. And I printed all 4 pieces without re-leveling. We'll hit that because we've done it. We'll calibrate the bed now, and it's going to go through. The first thing it's going to do is heat up. Once it reaches the temperature of the 140 degrees Celsius and the 60 degrees Celsius on the bed, then it will go through these 36 points to be able to level the bed. So you can see the temperature has been reached and it has started its operation. Now it'll go through and measure each one of those 36 points on the entire bed. And one of the things I wanted to show you with this is this little screw that I'm going to be using will just drop down in there, and that literally is perfect. And that's what I wanted, to be able to have that little tapered hole to be able to receive that screw. And that of course will screw into the plywood so that I'll be able to make the template. And you can see how this is progressing along and measuring each of those 36 points. Now that it's finished, it's going through that leveling process. I'm going to go through this Z offset. I have this set at 0.01 millimeter. And I'm going to go down until that just touches. And now it's just touching, and that's the way that I want it, just like that. So I can calibrate the bed now, confirm. So this will calibrate the bed to exactly that Z offset. And now that that's finished, I'm going to hit confirm, and we can back out of this part. This will be ready to be able to print. Now, rather than using the SIM card, I'm going to be using the computer with the USB cable. Now you can see that this has almost reached the temperature. Once it reaches the temperature, then you're going to see it's continuing the printing operation. Because as far as the computer is concerned, it's already in the printing mode. Now it's going through the Z operation all on its own. And the first thing that it will do in a printing operation is print the brim. And that's a thin layer that goes all the way around the project. And that helps to be able to make sure that the filament is flowing through the head as it should. Once that is completed, it'll give a good solid base. Now this will make sure that it has a good adhesion to the work base with this brim, and then it'll go ahead and print the object. You can look at the quality of the brim itself and see it's looking really, really good. The brim now is almost completed. And now it's starting to print the actual leg itself. And you see the first thing, it started with the screw holes. Now this is printing much, much better than that first test piece that I had. Now I could have grouped this and printed out all four at once, but I just decided just to print out one at a time to be able to show you the operation. It's so quiet. It is amazing how quiet this printer is. And there's our part delivered right to us. I can use the little spatula to lift underneath this and break it loose, but I also can lift up this part. Now this is magnetically attached, and this just slips right off, and I'll be able to break that loose, and that comes right off just like that. That is perfect. I want to get this up close so you can see it. This is absolutely perfect. Smooth. Smooth on the top. No strings on the inside. Very, very nice. Looking at the bottom, it doesn't get any better than that. That is a perfect part. That fits in there exactly the way that it should. Perfect. If I check out the screw, I can take the little screw, drop it in, and that is perfect. That's right down to the surface, just exactly what I want. Now I went ahead and hit print again. The bed and the tip is heating up to the temperature and it'll begin printing. So it's just about at temperature now and it'll begin the printing operation. And there we go, beginning of the second one. Again, is printing the brim, and that makes sure that the filament is flowing just as it should with the correct temperature. And that also provides a good stable base for this part to rest on. The next part is completed. It's amazing just how quickly the time flies watching this print. Now, one of the things I like to do is just lift this plate off, which is magnetically attached, and I can take the part off this way. In the last video where I did the test print of the Buddha that was provided in the Elegoo software, they said, well, it's always going to be perfect. Well, here's an original design, original print, and it's still perfect. And when this cools down just a little bit, you can see how this just will snap right off. And there's the part. Perfect. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to take this little tool and slide underneath. And it removes the brim. And that's as clean as when it was brand new. We'll put this back on now. And we're ready to start the next print. I just went back to the preview screen and come down and hit print. It'll go through the heating process again, and then it'll begin to print. I hope I've been able to demonstrate to you that this Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro printer is absolutely fantastic. With the complaints that I had last time on printing out the Buddha, which was a test file, and everybody said it was just always going to be perfect, this is the proof. This shows an original design that I did and printed out can be absolutely perfect also. Thank you for watching today. Making parts with a 3D printer for different things in the shop is fantastic. And these absolutely came out perfect. I love how these turned out. Now, designing with the Tinkercad is very, very simple. Quite frankly, this is the first item that I actually have designed in Tinkercad, and it worked great. So this is something that even a beginner can do with ease. It's not that hard to be able to do. And I think, quite frankly, that this is the way of the future. You no longer need to buy tools, print your own. You don't need to buy a part, print your own part. I think the possibilities are, quite frankly, endless. And I absolutely love this technology. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And while you're there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And don't forget, hit the notification so that you'll be notified on the different videos that I'm uploading. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video. So for now, bye-bye. Can't wait to see you real soon.